Welcome to season 2 of No Shelf Control, the podcast with books, booze, and banter, hosted by authors for readers, because let's face it, we're all bookworms at heart.
This season, we'll be chatting about book to screen. I don't know why I wanted to say books to screen. I guess in this case, that's appropriate. Book to screen adaptations and trending book talk books. I'm Lindsey Sparks.
And I'm Lindsey Pogue. Grab a cocktail, kick back, and enjoy the show.
Yay.
So welcome to this episode, everybody. Thank you for tuning in and listening. Tonight on the podcast, us Lindseys will be talking about book to screen adaptation of The Duke and I. Also, and perhaps more, familiarly known. I don't even know if that's a word anymore. Bridgerton
Yay!
by Julia Quinn. So we're going to be talking about those two versions of the story. And I'm kind of excited because I feel like it's been hyped up for so long. And now that I've read the book and I see, the similarities and the differences, it's anyway, I'm kind of excited.
I'm really curious to see what you think about them, the comparison between the two.
Yeah. So anyways, before we dive into that though, do you have a glass of anything red in particular that you'd like to share with us?
We're trying to take pictures before we start the show, so she knows what I'm drinking already. Red wine. I know everybody is falling out of their chairs in shock. Assuming they're in chairs. We are.
Yeah. Dennis concocted a very noisy but fun. It's just a gin lemonade. So anyway.
Ooh, it's pretty. Yeah. It looks refreshing.
It is. I think it has a little simple syrup in it, but it's all fresh lemon juice and just a little splash of gin. So anyway, delicious.
Delicious.
Sounds like I would say nutritious, but I mean maybe part of it, maybe the lemon juice, but other than that, nope.
Lemon juice.
Anyway, okay, what are you working on?
I mean, besides the obvious, which is the Raven Queen.
Yeah.
Which I'll just go ahead and update everyone. We are finishing or have finished beta revisions, and are just doing some final polishing up before we pass each other back our finished chapters of the Raven Queen, and each go through separately the whole thing, but only revising our own parts, if that makes any sense to anybody, in our own ways. Mine is reading out loud. Yeah, our final read through. Mine is out loud, and I believe yours is printed out.
Yes.
So I will say, if anybody wants to join me and hear parts of the book, they are welcome to come into my Discord and listen once I start reading. It will be at really random hours, not scheduled, usually very early to me, which is, 6 a.m. Pacific time.
All right.
So
free show, everybody.
Free show.
Not that kind of show, folks.
Not that kind of show. There probably will be a toddler right here. And a dog right here.
Yeah. Anyway, what else? Anything?
I've been doing today I did a lot of AI art when I was sitting on the couch on my phone. Also gonna plug my Discord for that because I just posted a bunch of stuff and some different series channels that I have in Discord of different AI art stuff. I did add some more Raven Queen stuff, so you'll have to check that out.
Yeah, fun.
Really random styles, like I don't know why. Like, do you ever see those book covers that look like layered paper cutout?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I was like, oh, it'd be really cool if there was something like that for the Raven Queen. This is like the most random directions to
You figured it out though, huh?
The AI. I did, kind of. And then I ended up going into this like gold foil direction, and it looks like kind of like metal cutout. I don't know what's going on, but it's kind of cool. So
I'll have to check it out.
Yeah. I love the random things you can do with this stuff. And it's like, you are only limited by your imagination and your ability to like convey.
Yeah, I think that's the hardest part.
Yeah, the prompt creation. And it's like tweaking the prompts. And I am such an addict for this. So I've like paid for the credits to be able to do a crap ton of like iterations and stuff. So I'm like constantly evolving stuff. But I did get some really cool ones for The Last Vampire Queen also that I am totally in love with. Like there's one character portrait that I got out of Night Cafe that is perfect. And I was just,
Oh, good.
oh my God. And it's like, you know, that moment when it just like spits out something perfect and it's just like this blissful moment.
Yeah.
It's weird. So yeah, I think that's all I've been working on a bunch of Patreon stories in the background, but the same stuff that I've been working on for a couple weeks in
Fun.
between the Raven Queen stuff. So yeah, and I know we're gonna have some cover reveals coming up soon. So I want people to look out for that for the Raven Queen and for World After. We're just waiting on a couple background pieces before we do that. And also the Raven Queen is up for pre-order for listeners. The cover is not the final cover.
Yeah.
And it is an AI art.
Oh, it is. I forgot about
that. It is.
Yeah.
So if anybody wants to look at it, it is, other than the fact that we added the title and the like release date at the bottom, I think it's like virtually untouched. So it is what the AI created.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah. So
yeah,
if you want to see some of what it can do, you can just go see the pre-order for the Raven Queen.
Yeah, we have
what about you?
have all this AR art to do.
I love it. It's so fun.
I, aside from my thin chapters for the Raven Queen, which I finished today and got it all polished up. I mean, as much as I could anyway. I got Sea of Storms back from the editor yesterday, and so yesterday and today was polishing that up because that went out to proofreaders today as well. So I'm so close to being done with it. I just can barely stand it. And as soon as I get it back from proofreaders in next week or two, I'm gonna send it in for the audiobook. So hopefully within the next few weeks they're gonna start working on the audiobook, which will be really cool. So I'm excited about that. So listeners won't have to wait so long between the book release and the audio, which was kind of the situation with, at least I don't think they will have to with City of Ruin. Since
these audiobooks go through Podium, are they able to do pre-order?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so but will it be ready by when does Sea of Storms come out? There's like a fly flying in front of me. Sorry, everyone, for me waving my hand around.
Sea of Storms comes out November 8th, and I have no idea when they're going to put up the pre-order. For City of Ruin, they did it about 2 or 3 weeks before, so I don't know. I don't think they do it too much before that. But anyway, we'll see though. I don't know. We'll see if it changes at all. But so I was doing that, and then I have been plotting and jotting down a lot of ideas for my super secret post-apocalyptic project that I'm working on that Patreon peeps are going to be learning a lot about soon. So I'm excited to share that. But it's going to be a standalone. So I write standalones, but I don't have any books planned around it. So it's not like it's going to be a standalone that has any connection to any other books. And I haven't really done that ever. So it's kind of exciting. Like once it's like one and done, and I'm like, oh. So anyways, I'm excited about that. And like I said, it's post-apocalyptic and it's like contemporary. So it's not like it's, in this Forgotten Lands world or the Ruined Lands world or anything like that. So I think it's going to be exciting. Probably it's going to be interesting to write post-apocalyptic survival stuff that is more modern day, but it has zero abilities. You know what I mean? Like it's not going to be in the ending world, so nobody's going to be with firepower or telekinesis or telepathic or whatever. So
that would be weird.
Yeah, so I'm excited though. I think it makes it so much easier in a lot of ways because then I don't have to figure out, well, they can't do that because somebody would stop their ability, and you know what I mean? So it's like one less thing to have to worry about. So I'm excited. Yeah. But anyway, so yeah, that's kind of what I got going on. And all the catch up things. I have such a long list, but at least I have an organized list of things I want to get done with this quarter now that I have time and room to breathe, so that feels really good too. So yeah. But that's it. What about, have you had any time for reading, or are you kind of in that in-between stage again?
I am on the 4th book in the Hollows series by Kim Harrison, which is A Fistful of Charms. A Fistful of Charms. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Which is the only, let's see, can you see it? I don't think you can see it, but it's up here. My row of Kim Harrison books. It's the only one in the series that I don't have in hardcover because it's impossible to find for less than like 450
Oh, that's
bucks.
the one you made that video about and you were asking.
Yeah. But I haven't been on TikTok in so long that I don't know if anybody found it.
Well, hope not for their sake.
I know. I need to go on there and just either get rid of the video or hopefully somebody found it. But I mean, I don't know. Hopefully not. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
It'd be cool if they did.
They're like, I spent $500 on this book for you. You know, I can't get a hold of you. No.
Yeah, right. I'm the worst. I will totally fulfill my promise, which was to send them my whole physical book catalog of paperbacks and hardcover. I guess I could send like a After the Ending old school hardcover too. I just want the book. Yeah, anyway. What about you? Have you been reading?
I've been Kindle reading the next book that we're going to talk about on the podcast, but I've been listening to a lot of podcasts, or no, I have not. That's a lie. I've not. I've been listening to a lot of audiobooks. I'm so behind in podcasts. I don't even want to think about it.
So am I.
Stresses me out.
I can't even open them. I'm like, no.
I know, I can't. Excuse me. So I listened to, have you heard of Emily Henry? She's like everywhere on Book Talk. I read Beach Read by her. It was my first book. I thought it was going to be like a rom-com, kind of a lighthearted rom-com.
It's called Beach Read?
Yeah. And it wasn't. It was actually pretty like serious book. It not in a bad way, but it just wasn't really what I expected. But I did really enjoy it. I thought it was really great writing. It had a lot of layers. It just wasn't lighthearted. So if you're looking,
it wasn't a beach read.
I mean, I don't know. I guess not. Not really. I mean, not kind of what I would call a beach read, I guess. But it was really good. I definitely would be interested in reading her other books now that I know kind of. It's one of those things where, you know how everybody has the animated covers and it looks all peachy and fun and flirty, and then you read it and you're like, this is kind of depressing, actually. This is, or it's like super crazy steamy and you're like, whoa, I didn't get that from the cover.
From the cartoon cover.
Yeah, those covers are very misleading, which it's kind of annoying, actually. Yeah. But anyway, but I did enjoy it. So I definitely want to read some more of her books. So I read that, and then I also I'm currently listening to a business nonfiction book called Chill and Prosper by Denise Duffield-Thomas. And she's Australian. She's, has a really booming business. I've only like 2 chapters in, so I don't know too much about her, but it's essentially just kind of trying to like a different frame of mind for building your business and that sort of thing. So anyways, it came highly recommended to me by Christy Webster. So I checked that out. She's listened to it twice, and she goes, if nothing else, you can listen to a fun, quirky Australian read your own book. And I was like, okay, I'll take it. So I like it. Yeah. So anyways, that's me.
Cool.
Okay, so I know we have a number of questions to address. So would you like to just dive in?
Yeah, we can dive in.
Okay. All right, so I'll go ahead and read the blurb for the book.
Can I just, sorry, real quick, I'm interrupting. For people who are listening and not able to see my dog on the video, she is right behind me, sleeping and snoring. And I know that you're going to be able to hear it on the audio because I just edited a different podcast that I could hear her snoring on the audio. And this is exactly what she was doing. So I apologize. My dog is snoring in the background. That's what you're hearing.
Okay. Well, I can't hear her, so I'm glad you addressed it, because they'll probably think it's me like having a sinus infection or something. Okay. So after I read this is the spoiler alert. So just everybody keep that in mind. If you have not read or watched The Duke and I / Bridgerton season 1,
And I mean, there's always a chance that we would end up spoiling the second season because I've watched part of it and I think you've watched the whole thing.
Yeah.
So maybe we shouldn't talk about the second season because I don't want to be spoiled.
Okay.
Myself.
Okay. Shall we?
Yes.
All right. So The Duke and I is by Julia Quinn, the first book in the Bridgerton series. Simon Bassett, the irresistible Duke of Hastings, has hatched a plan to keep himself free from the town's marriage-minded society mothers. He pretends to be engaged to the lovely Daphne Bridgerton. After all, it isn't as if the brooding rogue has any real plans to marry, though there is something about the alluring Miss Bridgerton that sets Simon's heart beating a bit faster. And as for Daphne, surely the clever debutante will attract some very worthy suitors now that it seems a duke has declared her desirable. But as Daphne waltzes across ballroom after ballroom with Simon, she soon forgets that their courtship is a complete sham. And now that she has to do the impossible and keep herself from losing her heart and soul completely to the handsome Hellraiser who has sworn off marriage forever. Dun, dun, dun. What will happen in this happily ever after romance? Let's see, shall we? All right, so that's the gist. Let's go to our question. Okay, so I'm assuming you listened to it, but
yes,
you
I
might
did.
not have.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I watched the show and then I wanted to know what happened later in what to expect later in the series. So then I read book 1 and I remember that I was reading. So I read this. I was still nursing. So I know that because I remember listening to it while I was up in the middle of the night nursing my no longer baby. And so it was probably like a year ago that I actually listened to it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So excuse me, this lemon, a little lemon in my lemonade is really getting my goat here. Okay, so I also listened to it. The narrator, I actually don't have her name in front of me. Her name's Rosamund or Rosalind something, and she does a lot of the historical fiction romance. So I have heard her before.
Does she do the whole series?
I don't know. I have no idea.
And I cannot remember. Is it in third person?
Yes. Yeah, it goes back and forth between the Duke and Daphne. And it's funny because I remember when I first started listening to the book, I kept thinking, so far I feel like it's all from his perspective. And then all of a sudden it was hers. So I don't know. I mean, in third person, but I remember in the beginning thinking, wow, is the whole thing going to be through his eyes? So it's very, I don't know, maybe that was just, whenever I thought about it, maybe it just happened to be his narration, but I do remember it being like very heavily in his third person voice as well. So
yeah.
Okay, so since you watched it before you read it, what did you initially think about the show? Because I remember when it first came out, it was like obviously hugely successful, and everyone
it was mid like the dark times of COVID also.
Yeah.
So I feel like it was a bright spot for people.
Yeah. What what were your thoughts?
I loved it immediately. I know that is your question is, did I fall instantly in love with it? I did. Yeah. But I will demolish anything that is like Georgian and Regency era.
Yeah.
In a hot minute. So I was very excited about that. And I loved the so I think, of course I'm going to have to compare it to Jane Austen. And I think one of the things that I really love, so like Jane Austen is amazing for so many reasons, but one of the things that I feel like is so fantastic about Jane Austen books is that it's satire, and that she's like sometimes very subtly, sometimes like over the top, making fun of like the social, like norms of their times. And so this is like that times 1,000 in terms of like making fun of, or like a satire on the social expectations and norms and structures that are set up for these women and men. I mean, and like what it, like, I feel like in a lot of like Jane Austen books and adaptations, it is much more like the whole, like the balls and all of that stuff are much more like, seem much more fun. But in this, it's like, this is your job. Like, you're getting ready for the ball to find a husband. Like, and it's just like, so like strategic and like, just like intense, this whole marriage hunt situation. So I did love that element as well.
I mean, it's totally, I mean, that's, I mean, perhaps not quite as glitzy, but that is very much, you know, what they're, they only had so much to look forward to, I guess. So it's like, you know, like Daphne and Elle, her sister, the whole time it's like they have this whole, you know, they're complete opposites in so many ways. So it's really interesting to see Daphne quite literally only knows how to be perfect because she knows her only job in life is to get married and provide for her family and all that. So it's kind of crazy when you really think about it. So I remember, the reason why I asked this question is because I remember I watched it when it first came out, because like you, I love well, probably even more than you, like I love historical drama and
you like
shows.
You get way more into a broader range of historical dramas
like
than I do. Like, you go for like the medieval and Renaissance stuff that doesn't suck me in quite as much.
But there's not a lot in general of any of them. So of course, whenever there's a show like this, like I've instantly watch it. It was really, I enjoyed it. But it was so over the top. All I could think about is this is such a marketing ploy to get people to like this, because if they would have done like just like a Jane Austen-y type, like it would never have been the sensation that it was, right?
If
like
it was more, if it wasn't like,
it's more real to life.
But did you like that, or did you dislike that?
No, I did. I did enjoy that, because as somebody who loves those shows and reads historical romance all the time, I liked that it was a different spin and that it was really pretty and fun. And well, you know, like I really love that show Reign on CW because of the same thing. It's so over the top.
I didn't get it.
It's so beautiful, like all the clothes, and that they did the same thing. They took all the contemporary music and they made it into, dance, like quartet music and, all that stuff. So I really, they're dancing the quadrilles and the waltzes and all these things to like these, wrecking ball.
That is one of the things that I love. And I actually wrote that down. I love that they do modern songs in like the period style. And it's in the same way that I love that they do that in Westworld. They do that in Westworld. And I feel like it's even maybe even more noticeable in season 2.
Oh, okay.
It definitely stood out to me more because like I just rewatched season 1 and then went straight into season 2, and I feel like it was like right away there was a modern pop song, or not pop, but like a modern song.
Yeah, I think like I said, I really did enjoy it. I think it was great, but I feel like everybody who said they like were obsessed with it and loved it, I think it's just so not their genre that it was just this new fun thing. And that's why I think it was a really smart marketing move on Netflix part, because they brought in a whole new fan base that never would have watched it otherwise. So, and
they made it very accessible.
Yeah. So I think they did a really good job with that. So I did enjoy it, but I didn't fall like gaga over it. Like I know a lot of people were obsessed for a while. Because maybe I'm kind of like, okay.
I mean, the only reason that I think that I don't actually remember falling instantly in love with it, other than I know I binged it really quickly. But because I read the book right after I finished listening to it, or right after I finished watching it, I read the book, makes me feel like I must have really loved it.
No, that makes sense. Well, and like I said, I once I saw it out, I'm sure I binged it, because like there aren't a lot of shows like that. And so I'm like, oh, I get so excited,
I mean, like, okay, so if anybody's seen The Great, it's not as over the top as The Great. Like The Great is it's interesting. Have you watched The Great?
On Hulu? The one with Dakota Fanning?
I know you don't.
Elle Fanning or whatever.
Elle Fanning, yeah. I know you're not a fan of the Fannings. But
specifically Elle. I don't know why.
But you have not watched it?
I've seen the first season.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I haven't watched more than that though.
I don't know why. I love that show. It is. And I totally did that. Like, I think I love some of the historical stuff because I love to look it up and compare it to like what really happened. Like that was what I loved so much about like the White Queen and the White Princess and that
yeah,
stuff.
I love those.
Just like I felt like I learned so much about the War of the Roses from those shows.
Yeah, no, it's true. I totally agree.
But and from like the research I did from those shows or because of those shows. But yeah, so this doesn't have as much of that element of like the period pieces that I like. So like The Great, even though it's super over the top, it also had all of these historical figures and sent me like down these rabbit holes of finding out like, did that actually happen? Did that actually happen? Like, did he actually have his mummified dead mom in a case?
Is that real? Probably is real.
I can't remember.
It's probably real because people are fucking.
I mean, but I remember that there was a lot of stuff where I was like, these people were nuts because there was enough stuff that was real. But yeah, but this doesn't really have so much of the like historical figures and stuff, and it's more just like.
Well, and I think that's like the appeal, right? I mean, everyone likes to watch and read about sex these days, so they like nailed that.
They really did. They really did.
Yeah.
There's a lot of sex on screen.
Yeah.
In the second half.
Yeah.
Actually, in the first episode. It's like 2 minutes in.
Yeah, and Anthony.
Yeah.
Oh, boys will be boys.
Yeah.
Okay, so that being said, what I know everybody says that the book isn't what they expect. So what was your take on that?
Yeah, I agree. It was not. I think it was not what I was looking for going from the show to the book. So it didn't really satisfy. I didn't continue on. I finished the first book. I didn't continue on to the second book. Of course, that could always have been because I had to read another book for the podcast and then I got sidetracked. So that could have happened easily. But then I just didn't go back to it. So I think I have the second audiobook also. So who knows? Maybe I'll listen to it. But right now I'm in the middle of like a 16 book series. So not anytime soon.
Yeah.
And I'm really excited about the book that we're going to read or that you are currently reading for the next episode. So
yeah, that's pretty intense too.
I have heard.
Yeah, so I think for me, as soon as everybody was like, oh, it's so different from the show, I'm like, why? Because it's like a normal romantic historical romance.
It is,
why? And that's what it is. It's not
it totally
glitzy
is. And like in the show, they added this whole racial element.
Oh, the diversity.
Yeah, the diversity element. So and they briefly talk about it. Lady Danbury. Dansbury?
No, now you're
just getting further away.
Anyway, no.
Dingleberry.
Anyway, I'm never gonna get it now. But yes, so anyway, yeah.
But she talks about briefly how basically because like at that time period in British history or I don't know.
It doesn't matter.
Anyway, the only people who like counted as people and had rights were white people, and this take on that era completely changes it. So there's lots of different types of people out in society and as landowners and.
Yeah, I think they even mentioned it's because of the king married the queen.
Yeah, because the king married the queen.
Which we can talk about later, but that's not even in the book.
It's not in the book. Yeah, none of that. The book is very straightforwardly like based on that time period.
But it's really interesting because I expected there would be more deviation from the book timeline and the plot, and it's almost actually, other than like some small changes to keep a series going, like a TV series going, it actually follows it very closely, I think. So yeah, so that was interesting. And it's Danbury. So I don't know if you said that in all of your guessing.
I think I did. Lady Danbury. I did. I think it was in there. I mean, it had to have been. I said every possible option.
I know. I'm so confused. Oh my gosh. Okay. So I guess that kind of we can dive into what were other things that you really liked about the show, specifically the show.
I mean, oh my gosh, the dresses are just so pretty. Like, I just want them. Except that I also love that they showed like the sores on Daphne's back from her corset.
Yeah, I like that too. Yeah.
But I also know that from when I was doing the ridiculously extensive amount of research on that era that I did for my virtual reality Pride and Prejudice mashup, they only wore half corsets that were almost like sturdier, slightly larger, kind of like sports bra kind of shape in that time period. So
I think, yeah.
I don't know if they were up in the corset element, or maybe in London it was different. I don't know.
Well, I don't think this is much of a spoiler. There's a scene at some point in the second season where it shows someone in a corset, and it is smaller. It's not the like. So
because
maybe
the Featherington girl, that was like a full corset that she's like getting cinched up in, because it was all about the mom wanted her to have like a tiny waist.
Yeah.
So
good old Mrs. Featherington.
Poor Mrs. Featherington. She's very much like Mrs. Bennet. All of her daughters, and she's losing her home.
She's not quite as annoying though.
She's not, but she has terrible taste.
Oh my god, yeah. Okay, so before we move on, so we both like, it's just so visually pleasing and beautiful.
Yes.
We love the music. I don't think you could have gotten any more perfect of who they chose to be the voice of Lady Whistledown. So
oh my gosh, it's Julie
Andrews,
isn't it?
And yeah. She makes that whole character come alive. Like it's so her. Yeah, so once you figure out who Whistledown is, it's really weird to be like,
it's very disconcerting.
Yeah, it really is.
Or like it's just like, it's like, wait, what?
Yeah. So anyway, but I think that's one of like it helps make the show because it just sounds so natural and real, and I love Julie Andrews, so
yeah,
perfect casting for that.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Was there anything that you remember? I know it's been a little while, but is there anything specific that you remember about the book that you liked more?
I mean, the only thing that I could come up with was that it was more traditional. But clearly that wasn't enough to make me continue it. So, right. Whereas I just like went straight into season 2 when I watched it the first time, it had just come. When I watched season 1 the first time, it had just come out. So it was a long wait for season 2. And then I didn't watch season 2 immediately when it came out because I have zero time to watch TV by myself. Now I'm just watching season 2 on my phone. So, but I was like, I have to see, because I know it's out there. So I just have to keep going. And I do also remember this has nothing to do with the book, but maybe it does kind of, like, I don't know, maybe the Duke of Hastings, Simon, maybe he appears in the second and third books and stuff, but I know that I don't know how you say his name, Reggie Jean Page, or however you say it. The actor,
is that his name? Oh,
that's the actor who plays Simon. Isn't in it after season 1, and is not going to be. I think his role is being recast. So I mean, if that character, I would be interested if that character shows up later in the series, in the books, versus just vanishing.
Yeah, I don't know. I definitely know that he's very obviously gone and missing from the second season, because I mean, even Daphne is in it less, which is fine, but she's still in it, here and there. So I think it's noticeable that he's not there. And so I was kind of wondering if that's a show choice or if it's a book thing. It seems strange. All I can think of is like they had too many cast members, so they didn't really need him. They didn't write him in. I don't know. But if he's not ever coming back, then I don't know, whatever. There was one thing that I actually noticed a lot and that I appreciated about the book. I actually wasn't a huge fan of the Duke's character in the show. I feel like he was really topical. I don't think he was like the best actor, and I know everyone just thinks he's super hot, and I mean he's super attractive. Hot. Yeah. But like
he's very charismatic.
I just feel like Daphne's character felt a lot more believable than his, and I like that in the book it dives into his actual struggle to want to tell her the truth, but about like his wanting it to have kids. Like he makes the choice after a lot of deliberation that he specifically knows he should say that he doesn't want to have kids, but he decides to say I can't have kids, and that's a huge like internal struggle for him. Whereas in the show he just everything is just like stubborn and no, and I'm not going to, and there's no real thought behind it, and it just makes him look kind of like a douche, you know.
Yeah,
like,
he does seem he's extremely infuriating.
Yeah, so I just in the book they do a lot, there's a lot more internal struggle for him that you're able to see, so I do appreciate that a lot. So yeah, that was the one thing that really stood out to me as far as that goes.
Yeah.
Okay. What about, like, let's kind of break down some of the changes and alterations that we saw, because I know we kind of already talked about the diversity aspect, the casting, obviously. What are some other things that you remember? Because I know, like, because we were talking about the queen isn't even in the story, even in the actual books, at least book one.
Like the whole like
she doesn't
presentation,
have
the whole presentation thing that's the opening scene of the show isn't in the books. I mean, I just really loved, like, I loved the artistic liberties that they took with the show, and like the over the top stuff, and like Eloise's character is the greatest thing in the whole world.
Sometimes I just want to smack her, man. By
oh my god,
season 2, I'm
love
just like,
her.
oh my god.
I love
no, I know,
so
I do like her character though. So Lady Featherington, she's barely, like, she's only mentioned and referenced once in the book. So
and
she
her,
has
like, the husband's gambling situation.
all that
I thought that was a really interesting. Their whole situation was really interesting. How much more it was in the show.
Yeah.
And I can't remember how much Marina's situation was explained.
I don't think she's in the book at all.
Okay. I like it. I'm not sure how much I even really cared. I don't know. I found her to be a frustrating character.
Yeah, I did too. I couldn't really care much about her.
I actually found her to be not believable character. Like her, when the brother of her her baby daddy shows up at the end, or in the like second to last or last episode, and proposes, and she thinks that she has aborted the baby with a magical tea. And she's, I mean, I don't know. She's just so, I mean, she's ruined.
Yeah, and she's like, I'll figure it out on my own. I don't need anybody.
And here's a guy, and like thinking about who her character is in this time period. I'm not saying like a modern woman, but you know, like, she is ruined. She has no future because the whole world knows that she had premarital sex, and now here's the brother of her guy she loved who died, who she now knows did love her and wasn't ignoring her, but he died, so he didn't get to write her back. Like, so here's his brother who's going to do the honorable thing and save her because she has no other options. She's going to be living in a hovel essentially, or a brothel or something, you know, like, in this time period there are no other options, and she's like, no. Really?
Yeah, I know. I agree with that. I also thought it was interesting. So there's another sister. Her name's Francesca, and she's barely in season 1, barely mentioned at all, and I don't even know if she's in season 2. So I thought that was interesting. Like, they feel like they kind of got rid of her.
The Bridgerton sister?
Yeah.
Fran?
Yeah.
The one who shows up at the very end.
Yeah. And I remember the first time I watched it, I was so confused. By the second time I watched it, I got it. But yeah, she just like comes and goes randomly. I'm like, okay. She's not even like the oldest or the youngest that's in a, like, where is she going and what is she doing?
Because she was in Bath.
Yeah.
Just like this magical place that people go to in
I know
that period. I don't know. For fun.
Okay, so that's fun. Yeah, as I was listening to it, I kept jotting down all these like little random things. I mean, I'm sure there was a gazillion other like little changes, but I feel like those were the big ones as far as the storyline. I know you said that you probably won't continue reading the series. I probably will at some point. I'm not like chomping at the bit to or not, but I listened to it anyway. So why not, get ahead and see. But that being said, I have the book order as far as the siblings in front of me. So obviously Daphne is the first one. Second one is Anthony, but is there another, like, which Bridgerton would you be most interested to see next?
I think
their story.
So I'm the most interested in Eloise because I feel like I love her feminist little heart. And also, can I say like how much I sympathize with these poor girls and the fact that they don't know how babies are made. What a cruel world.
Yeah.
And that's shame on the mother for not telling them, like not telling Daphne.
Yeah.
On her wedding night.
Yep. I know.
But yeah, so Eloise's story, because she's like just in season 1, she's just desperate to find out how babies are made. And it's like, oh. And then her brother, I want to say Benedict second, because they're alphabetically named. Benedict, I'm really curious about his as well, because he's the interesting kind of like artist.
Yeah.
Gets involved loosely with these like swingers, I want to say.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's like he has a mistress who's a super cool character. She's a shop owner. She's the seamstress.
Modiste.
The modiste. She's fake French.
Yeah, that's funny. So there are 8 books total. Eloise is number 5. So we have to wait a little while for that one. But Hyacinth and Gregory get one too. So I think it's
the little kid.
Yeah.
Or little.
So they must fast forward. They must fast forward a little bit in time. And then like that's what made me ask, kind of bring up the whole Francesca thing, because she has a book too. And I'm like, I keep forgetting she exists.
Maybe it's realistic that one sibling would be away. And maybe also it's just like so that there's already a lot of siblings to follow.
Yeah.
And like Hyacinth and Gregory, that's the little boy.
Yes, the youngest boy. Yeah.
Which is funny because sorry, I have to say my alphabet.
Yeah. H.
He looks younger.
He is. He has to be.
But he's first. He's born before her. Are they twins? She's way taller than him in the show.
I don't know. I thought he was the youngest, but maybe I'm wrong.
Gregory Hyacinth.
Hyacinth's book comes before his, so
interesting.
I don't know.
Colin is book 3.
4. Benedict is book 3. Colin's book 4. Eloise is 5. Francesca 6. Hyacinth and Gregory.
That's it. I did see that there's like a Bridgerton's 25 years later or something like that.
Yeah, so they have well, at the end of The Duke and I, there is 15 or 20 years later.
Oh, okay.
Daphne's 41. There's like a hour long, at least an audiobook land an hour-long second epilogue. That I know that Julia Quinn she had originally created one book that had a bonus story from each book in one, and now she took them out, and each one is an extra epilogue in each one of the individual books. So anyway, so yeah, we'll see how it goes. I would be interested to see how different Kate's situation is in book 2 in the actual book versus the show. Kate and Anthony, you know, their relationship.
Yes.
Like her character, especially because they introduced this whole diversity element to the show. Yeah. So I'd be interested to see how different her character is.
That is an interesting idea because she's from India.
Yeah.
That's very interesting.
I don't know what they're going to do. I mean, her entire storyline is wrapped up in India. So it's like, that they'd have to do a lot of altering, I think, for that one.
Yeah. Well, I have to say, I think I'm only 2 episodes in, but I'm really enjoying season 2.
Yeah, it's fun.
I love the, so far, like how uninterested she is in him. Or just like disgusted by him.
Yeah.
She's intrigued by him, but disgusted. Yeah. She's just like,
she overhears, just
whereas every other girl is like swarming around him.
I know. Yeah. That's funny. Well, I think that wraps this up then. Is there
I did have one thing I wanted to say, which was, did you ever see the movie? So I would say the trope in this is in season 1, which is based on The Duke and I, is fake dating, right?
Yeah, fake relationship. Yeah,
fake relationship. So I remember when I first watched this, I was like, this is exactly like Drive Me Crazy.
Oh man, I barely remember that one.
Oh my god, I loved that movie with Melissa Joan Hart and the guy from Entourage. When they were like teenage babies. So I feel like it's like totally the same thing.
That's fun, yeah.
So anyway, gotta love some fake dating.
For sure.
But yeah, so that's a great element of it.
Yeah, I wonder what that is fun.
And I wonder like if each book has if each one is like a different romance trope.
Yeah. Well, if I listen to them, I will update you all.
Yeah, I already know the Colin one, so I know what that trope is, but I'm not going to say it without like ruining it for everyone.
Oh, really? I don't know the trope for that one. I know who his love interest is, but I don't know who is.
Yeah, so if you know who his love interest is, then you know what the trope is.
Oh. Okay.
But does season 2 count as enemies to lovers?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. So yeah, I'm really curious. Like I said, Eloise really interests me, so I'm curious to see what her trope is. Curious to see what Benedict's trope is. I have zero like the little kids. I'm like, I don't know. They're little kids.
I know. I'm actually curious to see who Ella would like. Who is she actually? What kind of a guy would actually catch her attention? You know. So that will be interesting.
I do know who it is, and I know we've met him.
I know his name, but I don't remember him from the series.
He's the brother of the guy who died. Who Marina's gonna marry.
What?
He becomes a widower.
Oh, so she dies. Oh, well, she's not even in this book series, but she's in the.
I think she might be later.
Oh,
maybe. I don't know. Clearly, I was Googling spoilers.
Okay, well, good to know.
Yeah, but I do remember when season 2 came out, there was like a whole hullabaloo on TikTok about like people being upset because it didn't necessarily follow the book quite what they were expecting or something. I can't remember what it was. So I'm really curious to see because I haven't read the second book. to see what I think of season 2. I know it's supposed to be much more like slow burn.
Yeah, see, now I think I probably am gonna download them, because now I'm just getting more curious to see how they're gonna keep up, especially now that I've watched season 2. I want to see how different that is, because I have a feeling, especially Colin and Penelope, like a lot changes. So I don't know. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how they pull it all together. So now I might end up listening ahead. We'll see.
Yeah. I'm curious again after, getting sucked into the show again. Now I'm like, now I want to find out. So,
yeah. Well, if we do get hooked, there are 8 books.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And all.
I mean, it's always such a dangerous thing, like when a book is different from the show. I feel like there's the same thing that happened with me with Shadow and Bone. I adored season 1 of Shadow and Bone, and the book is different.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that.
And yeah, and I was disappointed by I liked the changes that they made to the show. I was disappointed then when I went on to the book.
I was actually just looking, and to answer your question, it looks like the same audiobook narrator does do the whole series, but I was just looking to see what kind of ratings this series has for the actual books, to see if they were low, because so many people went to read it after they watched the show, but they're actually all really good. So yeah, that's good. Because I kept thinking, because as I was listening to it, I kept asking myself, or at least wondering, if it hurt her ratings, because people had such different expectations going into her books.
Yeah.
Because I know that happened with the 100 too. That was based on a book, and the book was a lot different, and I never went to read it because it had pretty low ratings, and I was like, I'm not gonna deal with it,
I remember, so I watched the first, 2 seasons of the 100. If people don't know what that is, it's done, right?
Yeah, it's over.
It was a CW post-apocalyptic show. And it was very CW, but also very post-apocalyptic.
Yeah.
But it did have Ricky Whittle, who I adore.
Yeah, it was fun. It got really strange, but it was fun. I did enjoy it. Okay, so yeah, anyways, looks like her ratings are actually really good, so it did not hurt her. I'm sure she made quite a bit
of money.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
So yeah. All right, so that's it for this episode then, right?
Yes, I think
Thank you everyone for listening. Don't forget to check out our show notes for this episode's links and book recs, and we will be back in a couple weeks. Next episode, we're going to be talking about TikTok sensation book called Hooked. It's a dark contemporary romance by Emily McIntyre. It is our first book by her, but we are seeing the cover everywhere. It is not, she makes it very clear, it is not a retelling of a fairy tale, specifically like Peter Pan or whatever, but there are a lot of connections, and it's actually pretty clever. So it'll be fun to talk about it.
I'm excited. I know very little about it, other than it's supposed to be pretty dark.
Yeah.
And I'm excited about that. And I totally thought it was Peter Pan.
Yeah, I mean,
or Hook.
There's a ton of tie-ins, but she makes it very clear this is not a retelling. So I guess I don't really know the difference between what a retelling and just because he's a villain. It's a dark romance and he's a villain. Maybe that's what, I don't know.
It's not Captain Hook. All right, now I'm so intrigued.
Yeah. So anyways, we'll be back next time to talk about that. So in the meantime, if you enjoy the show, please leave us a review wherever you listen. And I know that last time you were asking or wondering where you could do that, and I do know you can also do it on Audible. So
oh, awesome. Yeah.
Anyway, cool. So and then you can check out our No Shelf Control Facebook group, and we'll be back next time.
So I also want to tell people, sorry, I'm interrupting your outro. If you're a Spotify listener, Spotify now has audiobooks.
Yes, all of our books are on there.
I think you have to buy them on the Spotify website because of the whole weird app purchasing situation that affects all apps. But yeah. Audiobooks are now available on Spotify if you're a Spotify listener. So I'm pretty excited to see how that all works out because I am a Spotify listener.
Yeah, same as these. All right. Well, until next time. Toodaloo, my darlings.
Happy reading.
Happy reading.